Okay. All right. Peace and blessings. Assalamu alaikum. Shalom. Welcome everybody to the Black First Roundtable. And today, which is the first day of Black History Month, that is going to be our topic today, Black History. We're going to be looking at two stories or two situations that I'm quite sure we'll dive into this way and dive into that way. But we're going to look at Brian Flores, who is a former hit the NFL with a lawsuit today for racism, discrimination, with saying that the Holocaust wasn't about racism. It was about, that was man's inhumanity to
You break it
dive
up.
into that. But as we go in, is it good now? Can you hear me?
It's intermittent.
Okay, I gotta close some other things down. So let me just go here so y'all can say that. So I'm gonna bring y'all, let y'all come on in and introduce yourself and give me your understanding of what Black History Month actually is, and then what you think Black History Month should actually be. Okay, so what it actually is, and then your understanding of what it should actually be. All right, Sister Gwen.
Well, since I'm a separatist and I like Black separatism, I think it should be Black eternity, not just Black month, Black forever, Black only, Black this, Black this, that, and the other. So, but what this is, it was a concession in the civil rights movement, pretending that they're recognizing that Black people needed their own month because year-round is White History Month. That's the way it is. Now, what people don't know is there's everybody's got a month. Next month is, I think, Women's History Month, and I think the month after that is Native American History Month. But they got Scottish History Month, they got Irish History Month, they got Island Pacific History, well, Asia and Islands Pacific Month. Every ethnic group that's got a name has their own month. So contrary to what people think, it's not just Black History Month. It's year round with every specific group that wanted a specific month got that. I mean, now I forgot which ones, I only remember by heart Black History Month, and I think March is Women's History, and I forget the exact sequence of the rest of the month. But what kills me is that when African or immigrants come over and want to speak for us, they say that they don't think Black History Month is necessary. So basically they got here new and they don't really know that. They just said that we're the only ones that shouldn't have a history month. I really actually, I'm puzzled by that, but they're so busy trying to sell us out to curry favor with white people that they're just repeating a pattern, because that's what they did. That's how we got over here, is because we got sold out. And so they really need to look at themselves on that, about selling out other Black people to curry favor with white people, because that's all they're doing when they're dissing us. And they did that over in Africa, and it's a bad pattern, and they are losing their country because of that kind of thing. Right now, Chinese and Europeans are taking Africa right out from under them while they're busy selling out everybody else. And they got to really look at that. About Black History Month, it's a commercial thing, and that if it was really valuable, we wouldn't have it. So it's commercial and it's fanciful and it's nice. It's not really significant to us, but it's a warm, well, a lukewarm gesture for something or another that they think that they're trying to help us with. That's all that is. But actually, we should be studying our own history to be looking at what's really important to us. Leaving it to other people to point out what's important to us is really a fallacy on our part. That's all.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Gwen. Doc,
Give me the question again, the two parts.
okay. What is your understanding of Black History Month? And then what should Black History Month should be according to you?
Okay, right now, and I just wrote a piece about this for our campus newsletter. Right now, Black History Month has denigrated into a couple things. One of them is K through 12 teachers getting out these god awful cardboard pictures and little posters and putting them up as if that's a representation of the Black experience. And of course, they go ahead and supplement that with these Groundhog Day, meaning they're consistently repeated every single year. Presentations about the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Rosa Parks, and the Montgomery bus boycott. We have a problem with the training of our teachers, and the fact that even the Black teachers are historically illiterate when it comes to the Black experience and what the Black experience is about. Now, I'm not going to just harp upon the teachers, but also let's be honest about these Negroes, and I mean National Urban League, the NAACP, SCLC, all these venerable civil rights organizations who quite simply are having a dinner or some type of program. They might have breakfast, they might have a soul food buffet, what have you, to further kill our people. But they show up, they bring some charismatic, slick Negro up in there who might throw in a rap or two in regards to his message of nothing. It's in many ways pure emotionalism. It's an emotionalism that is not a plan for Black liberation. It was never intended to be a plan for Black liberation. I mean, it's not a stretch to refer to it as a group session of mental masturbation. They entered into it with the idea of purely seeking pleasure, with no idea, no even conception of producing anything that was worthwhile or long lasting. That's what they do. And that emotionalism is going to dissipate and disappear quicker than that soul food dinner that they ate is going to dissipate and exit from their body. So that's what I see it as right now. Now, what should it be? It should be several things. On the one hand, it should be aimed at uplifting the minds of African American people, particularly African American children. And I kind of hedge in saying African American children because we need adults as well. You don't get any increase in understanding of race, let alone history, just by living long and being repeatedly victimized by white world supremacy. The only thing that's going to add to you is some mental illness, some health problems, and a general statement of "don't trust them white folk. Whatever you do, don't you?" But that's not a strategy for us to do anything. But I think that, and this is one of the things that I wrote about in the piece that I was alluding to, which they changed the title on, by the way. But one of the things that I said is that I believe, and I fervently do believe this, I believe that people make decisions based upon the information that they have. And Carter G. Woodson, ironically, the founder of Negro History Day week and Black History Month, Woodson said it this way. He said, why not destroy the Negro if he's produced nothing to any civilization, any society? He's made no contribution. Why not kill him? Why not lynch him up, kill him and burn him? Because he's done nothing. The problem is that that's truly the perspective that many of our white countrymen have of Black folk. They have no information about us. They have no understanding of who we are, what we've been through, even what our accomplishments have been. So having said that, I believe that Black History Month could very well serve as the initial dosage in a vaccine against the racism virus. by exposing them to something that they have no idea even exists. However, let's be very clear on this. As with the vaccine for COVID-19, you got to come and get it for it to even have a chance to work. So if you want a vaccine of Black History Month to combat this racism virus, you got to show up at some Black History Month celebrations. You got to show up at some Black lectures, and they're going to push you out of your comfort zone. But if you're not willing to do that, you're going to stay completely infected and in full-blown racist mode. So that's what I believe Black History Month at its best could be: educating both Black, white, and anyone else about the Black experience and what we've done and what we're about. And I yield.
All right, excellent, Doc. I want to make sure I heard you right. Did you say Black teachers are historically illiterate about Black history, or did you say white teachers?
All of them. All of them are historically illiterate. I mean, they think they jamming when they talk about Martin Luther King. You know, go ask some Black educators about I tell you what, ask them if they know who Paul Robeson is. They don't know. Ask them, you can ask them if they know who El Hajj Malik El Shabazz is. They don't know. Ask about Assata Shakur. Ask about Huey P. Newton. Ask about David Walker. They don't know. Nanny Gabriel Prosser. Ask Black female teachers if they know who Ella Baker is. They don't know. Because let's be honest, you don't absorb anything intellectually just because you're Black. It ain't downloaded in you. So if you're sitting in a class, you're sitting in the exact same classroom that is building white teachers, what curriculum you think you're learning? You're not learning no curriculum about nothing dealing with Black folk. And that's one of the misnomers, that if you put a Black teacher in a classroom, that they're going to know more about race or about history than white teachers are. They don't. By and large, all they can tell those Black kids on the slides, don't you trust in white folk. That's about the depth and how far they can go with it. I mean, it is truly, and let's be clear about this. I won't say his name, but he was someone who he's still very, very prominent on the Black lecture scene. Okay, and I'm talking about CNN, MSNBC, Popular. Okay, I'm talking with him, and he says to me, he says, "Doc, you know, they love you here, you know, blah, 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 blah." He said, "But my question is, what do you do? Who do you talk to? What do you do for intellectual stimulation? Because they don't seem to be very smart here." And I said, you know, I just come up with creative things. Like today it happened to be the anniversary of the assassination of Fred Hampton and Mark Clark. And I said, I spent all day today listening to the sermons, the funeral, the eulogies that those brothers had received. This Negro said to me, "Oh yeah, man. Yeah, you know, I was looking at the news, man, how they killed them brothers last week."
What?
He had no idea what I was talking about. None. And these are people who, by and large, have important, prominent positions. Okay. I've told this story many times before about being in a meeting about who we were going to bring in for Black History Month one year. And they wanted to bring in Richard Wright. And I'm sitting here completely just blown away. You know what I'm saying? I'm blown away. I'm like, they think Richard Wright is alive. And they got mad at me because I said, listen, if we can bring Richard Wright, hell, let's bring Malcolm and Martin and Medgar too. We will have a Black History Month celebration out of this world. So I think that we do education a disservice when we approach it from that standpoint, that just because you have a Black teacher, you're going to receive a relevant Black education. And I can tell you for sure that is far from true. You know, so many, and this shocks people, so many of the PhDs that I know are not even well read. So lo and behold, when you're talking about somebody with a BA, you know they ain't well read. They're trying to memorize the white school curriculum, that they need to know this, they need to know that, so that they can pass at an acceptable rate and you can keep your job. That's what's going on. Okay, so this idea of Black History Month, that's why they still talking about Martin. That's why they, I was in an audience where a white scholar stood up in a university community, and he asked the students, he said, do you know what today is? And it happened to be the anniversary of Medgar Evers's murder by Byron de la Beckwith. And he could look in their faces and tell they didn't know. And he turned, he pivoted, he said they need a good Black Studies 101 class, because they don't even know who Medgar Evers is.
Mm. Mm. Wow. Let me ask you this, Doc. In America, when we're dealing with Black history, they can only take us to the plantation. That's as far
What do you mean?
as it takes us.
What do you mean?
Meaning that they don't say, okay, this is what the people did in Africa. You know, y'all were this, that. They just take us to the plantation, as that is the start of our walk in life. Right there, being slaves. That's the start of our walking life. What's your thoughts on that?
I mean, what you're saying is factually correct. I mean, one of the more painful things for Black school children is to be given that assignment to trace your ancestry or your lineage. You know, we can only go so far. So that's just really what it is. But what I think a better way of answering what you're asking is quite simply, our teachers are not educated. Our teachers do not know anything about Al-Kebu-Lan. They don't. If I were to talk to them about Al-Kebu-Lan, they think I'm talking about someplace Dr. Spock and in Star Trek went. They would have no idea that that's the ancestral name of Africa. Okay, and even if, and let's because I hate to beat up on teachers, because they're really the pawns in a larger game. But let's say that they can't go past 1800 in their knowledge. Let's just say that. The story of America, though, is still, you can still tell this story and have Black folk have significant inclusion in it. If you start us at let's say the American Revolution, you talk about this idea of a George Washington, of a Thomas Paine, give me liberty, give me death. You talk about all of those. Okay, that's great, but go ahead and introduce us to Crispus Attucks, the first Black man to die in the American Revolution. It's a Black man, okay, who was killed by the British. Okay, but what has happened historically is, and of course, for me, you can't talk about Thomas Jefferson, just like you can't talk about the king without talking about the queen. You can't talk about Thomas Jefferson without mentioning Sally Hemings. You just can't. Okay. Our kids need to know who Linda Brent is. Our teachers need to know who Linda Brent is. They need to know these things. Okay. And in depth that they're going to be dealing with our children. But if you have a limited time frame, you have to know what's going on with the Black experience. And one of the things that is bothering me more and more is the separation of African American history from American history. Because what they're doing is they're cordoning off important things that they deem important and leaving all the Black stuff over there. It's been ghettoized. Okay. Well, hell, you can't talk about J. Edgar Hoover without talking about the counterintelligence program, which is focused upon Black folk. You can't talk about John Fitzgerald Kennedy in Camelot without talking about how the March on Washington almost fell apart and it took Asa Philip Randolph to hold it together. You can't talk about the Great Society without talking, who's the Great Society aimed at? You know, you can't leave us out of any moment or any facet of history. And my newest argument is quite simply, you can't even call yourself a patriot if you don't know Black history, because you don't know what you're attempting to stand on. Because to be honest with you, Nat Turner is nothing but George Washington fighting a different enemy at a different time. Because if you're talking about the colonists rebelling against the British behind something called no taxation without representation, well, the same shit holds true for us. We ain't gonna work if we're not represented. And that's really what it comes down to. So the ghettoizing of American history is something that we need to attack at every moment, at every turn, because it is at every moment robbing this nation of some of its richest stories and traditions. And the idea that we're not Americans, who decides that? These bastards that we fed rice to keep them from eating their kids? Come on. So I'm not amused at the American educational system. I'm angered that when I walk into a classroom, I have Black girls in there who can tell me about Anne Frank, but don't know a damn thing about Assata Shakur. And the thing that we rarely talk about is quite simply, our kids want to learn. I see it every single class. Okay, I had a young lady grab, and to show you my stuff that I'm doing right now. Our meetup group, we're reading All About Love, Bell Hooks. One of my female students saw it, and she grabbed my book and fingered through it, and then took off running with it out the classroom. Okay, and so I had an extra copy, and I ended up gifting it to her. You know, our kids want to learn. You know, and it is a gross, malicious, libelous lie to say that they don't. And I'm talking about Black men and Black women, Black male and Black female students.
Wow. So now, with Carter G. Woodson, the comments that you talked about with him, saying that, you know, if we don't have no accomplishments, then, you know, we would rather, it would be best for us to be dead. Was he saying that we actually don't, or was he saying y'all just don't know who we are?
He was saying y'all don't know who we are. He's the father of Black history, Black History Month, Black History Week, and Black History Day. But what Woodson is saying is very logical. If the Negro has created nothing, why not kill him? That's his way of saying, you need to know what we've done.
Mm-hmm.
You need to know our accomplishments, because I'm not quite as bad as Sister Gwen is, but let's give them the benefit of the doubt and present the information to them. And now we present this information to you and you're still a devil. But in hell, ain't nothing we can do after that. Okay. But what Woodson is saying is, if your mindset is that these people are the scourge of the earth and they've never accomplished or contributed anything to any civilization throughout all time, it's natural for you to want to kill them in the streets, lynch them, burn them, and rip their bodies apart and keep them as souvenirs. So the antidote to that, hopefully, is for us to expose them to something that for them would be uncommon, but is rudimentary and natural and well known for us, and that is Black excellence.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Excellent, excellent. Sister Gwen, did you want to add anything?
Or they instead of killing them, they could have just left them where they were at home, minding their own business on their own continent, and contribute to their own house in Africa, because Africans didn't come to America voluntarily. So I'm against the ripping them up in the street thing. I think that it's a bad person or being that wants to rip you up in the street, but I get his point. I put down here, I like this, I was talking about home team history when you were talking about African history, because I don't think of Black history as starting in America like a lot of people do. I think of it starting in about 80,000 years ago, and it's been a continuous line of history and things happening in several parts of the world, everywhere we are. And I like this guy's home team history page. He's got a YouTube channel, and I like him. I like his work. And I put the link in our chat. I don't want to click on anything because it'll be a copyright violation, but I suggest that both of y'all take a look at his work. He presents his information clear and professionally and unbiased, and it's like maybe a 10 or 15-minute video. I do have a link to his channel where you can see the title of his videos, but I didn't open up video. Okay.
So let me ask you this. I want to go back to this other point you made. I want you to elaborate. You said teachers are pawns in the larger game. What is this larger game that they're pawns in? And do you think that they're aware that they are pawns?
First, when I say that they're pawns in this larger game, I mean, come on, let's be honest. That these are people who are, they're working class people usually, who are trying to strive, you know, like the Jeffersons would say, moving on up into lower middle class, if you want to believe in that type of class structure. But these are people who simply want a job. These are people who, in many ways, have been influenced, been impacted through sometimes very traumatic lives by a single educator. And they say quite simply, that's what I want to do. That's what I want to be. I want to impact lives like my life was. They want to make the world a better place. So how do you become a teacher? You become a teacher by taking these classes that we tell you that you need to take. And then you're going to have to focus upon these issues, these topics, these subjects that we want you to know. Now, if you don't pass this exam, this standardized exam, you can't be a teacher. In many ways, we're talking about manufacturing consent. That no, we know there's 2 million facts out here, but we want you to learn 50 of them. And if out of that 50, you can remember 35 of them, that gives you a 70% on the test. Look here, we're going to give you a job for about 50 grand. They're pawns. They're foot soldiers in a larger scheme. Okay, and that larger scheme is quite simply preparing America to have its next generation of workers. And that's what it comes down to. You know, we need a reserve labor pool. There you go. They're pawns. And many of them understand. I got a call last week from one of my students. And you know, I take pride that I produced a bunch of Black educators. Okay. And every one of them will say the same thing: Doc, we need you in that classroom. We need you, blah, blah. This Negro called me last week, said, I can't do it no more, Doc. I'm done. He didn't quit. Okay. Middle of school year, he done. He said, I can't do it no more. Okay. And his problem is he wants to do what I do. Okay. But no, you teach in high school. You can't do what I do, because at the end of that semester, whatever quarter or whatever they're doing, those kids have got to take a standardized test to determine if they're going to be promoted to the next grade or not. There you go. Teachers will get an understanding. Quite simply, you teach what we tell you to teach, what you've been prepared to teach. We don't care nothing about Toni Morrison's Beloved. We don't care nothing about Sula. We don't care nothing about none of that. What we care about is what happened at Valley Forge. We don't even care if it's irrelevant to a larger scheme of whatever, to your life. Okay, Lord knows we ain't gonna have no Black folk dealing with curriculum. We're going to have a set group of very conservative thinking individuals, usually not Black, and even if they are Black, they're not Black nationalistic minded people. That's how they got in the position. So in every way, a teacher is not educating. A teacher is transferring 100 facts that somebody said that they need to know so that we can give them a job at the end of the day. It's what it is. They're pawns. And if you talk to them, they'll tell you, yeah, I don't get to teach what it is I want to teach. I teach what they tell me to teach. And to ensure that you're doing that, and this is what I think ran my student out last week, you need a lesson plan. And you're going to spend 6-8 hours a week lesson planning. So that when they come in there, they're going to say, let me see your lesson plan. And in that lesson plan, if you mess around and put John Brown down instead of Thomas Jefferson, and see if you got a job next week. You will not have a job. And that's what it comes down to. And this is why it is so crucial and critical that you educate your own, because education is aimed at achieving something. And when that aim at achieving something is not Black liberation, you got a problem. And the problem is that you can't get your kids out of that school either. You can't go in and teach nothing, and you can't get them out. Because you take them kids out, they can probably call the police on you. There you go.
Wow. Yeah, that is something. And you also spoke briefly, you said, you made the comparison that Black history is a vaccine for the American racism, for racism.
No, I said no. I said an initial dosage. Okay, just like COVID-19, you're gonna need boosters. And these rascals we dealing with, they gonna need a damn IV, okay, that we bring to their house. And you're gonna have a designated strong arm, strong hand brother that's standing up there with the IV bag, squeezing it with all of his might to get it into their system. You're probably gonna have to do that every 72 hours.
Mm.
Because we're talking about a situation where these people are illogical, are hateful, are vengeful, and there's really nothing that you can do with a person who does not have logic undergirding what it is that they're doing. They've gone insane, okay? And the only antidote to ignorance is education and exposure. People learn, Chairman Fred Hampton said it this way, people learn through two processes, okay? Observation and participation. But what happens when you have people who, number one, are not observing anything other than Fox News, and number two, because they've learned it from Fox News, they refuse to participate in anything. They know everything. That's a problem, a major problem. So they've in many ways balkanized their own minds and spirits, and there's nothing you can do with that. Okay, Black History Month has been around. Black programs have been around. Hell, you know, it's always been a white boy, a white girl or two who would even show up at Soul Train. Okay, show up at some Black lectures and learn what our truth is. I actually, and I'll end with this. I actually had a colleague who actually said this. Okay, now he's getting a PhD in history, and he said that the reason that that Black folks got racial equality, as he put it, after World was because we went to World War II and saw what was done to the Jews in the Holocaust. And I just looked at him and I said, "Do you really believe that?" And he really believed that.
Wow.
And you think about somebody who should have been who had been so well read, getting a PhD, to come up with that. He already got a master's, and he still came up with that. And one of the things that, and this kind of drives me toward this whole idea of Joe Biden's misguided, in saying that he's going to select the first Black female to go on the U.S. Supreme Court. You've all but done everything you could to guarantee that Trump's supporters and those who probably wasn't going to support him are going to come out and vote Republican next time. What he should have said is, "I'm going to select the most qualified person that there is." And I can guarantee you that the sisters who have law degrees are super qualified, because they not only have to study white folk stuff, they got to study Black folk stuff and Black women and gender and all of that together. They're the most qualified. That's how you say that. You don't say, "Well, I'm going to select because she's a Black woman." No, pick the best. And the best is probably going to be a Black woman. There you go. Break the trend by just putting anybody up in there.
When there are jobs that need a test or something, Black women are right up there. When there are jobs that need a test or some kind of skill that's written or, you know, that you can measure objectively, Black women are right there.
I mean, you know, the thing for me is that a lot of people are surprised that I can talk about Walter Reuther, the most dangerous man in Detroit. You know, I can talk about John D. Rockefeller, Andrew Carnegie. I can talk about John Brown, you know, Abe Lincoln, all of the white folk, because I had to study them white folk.
Yes.
And then I studied the Black folk and the brown folk and the red folk as well. They ain't got to do that. They just study the white folk. And that's at pretty much every level of education.
And that's why when we compete side by side, we win, because we know more stuff. That's one thing that this American experience has done for us, made us harder and better qualified when it's time, when we compete on a level playing field, because we have to learn their junk. We have to learn the hoops. We have to work twice as hard, you know, just to break even or even get half as far. That's why we make good bosses and all the things that they consider good. We're the youngest things that we get into. We find ourselves being the youngest one there, and we're equally qualified, if not more, and able to do it better. And they hate that. You on mute, Doc.
The thing is that if I were to get on an airplane and they were to say, you know, well, you know, this will be the first all Black female flight crew that's flying the plane, I'm going immediately to sleep, because I know they didn't put them sisters through so many hoops, so many different things. They beyond quality. Hell, they should be flying the damn next space shuttle. Okay, they more than qualified if they didn't got to this point. You know, I get nervous when somebody cute, okay, cute and white is getting ready to do anything for me.
Yes.
Because oh, now hold on, what school you go to? Okay, who's your daddy and where he work at? Because more than likely it's been a hookup somewhere involved in there. You've gotten break after break after break after break.
And they scary as hell.
There you go. Whereas a sister, she and most brothers, they stand on what they know because they done been through the ringer.
Mhm.
And that's across the board. I get scared when I see blonde males, young blonde white males, because they tend to, white people tend to give what I nickname the golden child or the fair-haired boy a break. And he has breaks all his life. He can't even handle nothing. And he's very unqualified. And I get scared when I see them leading things because I know he's got to prove he's qualified for me because I have reservations. I have seen too many of them not be able to do their job, but they stand behind other people doing it for them. And they know how to smooth and politic and pretend. You know, they walk into the room with a briefcase that's empty, strutting around, you know, pretending. And eventually when you pretend enough, it blows up in your face and there you are. And everybody that was relying on you is blown up too. So that's when I get scared because I've seen them do that too much. Now, all of us, I mean, like, for example, I worked at a job where it was at a Catholic parish and I worked as a cafeteria manager, but they have all kinds of jobs there. I was one of the only ones that were Black, but I was also one of the only ones that I knew of that was hired from outside without having any connections there. Yes, everybody there that I knew that worked there were cousins and in-laws and blood relatives and people that knew each other already. I was hired from the outside based solely on my documents and qualifications. I was the only one there. And everybody else that I worked with was white and I was a manager. They didn't hand me anything. I got it because I was, you know, ready for it. And this is many people have jobs like this. That's why when Black people, you know, get up on the board of something or something like that, they find that they're the youngest one there. And that's you know, that's those of us who hadn't given up. That's, you know, the ones that gave up are the ones that are trying to skate and trick and slick and all of that. That's because they gave up trying to fight it. We that are still in the game and ain't gave up, we're piling on the credentials and experience, and we're good at it. Yes, I would go to sleep too. Actually, I'd be up there trying to gossip with the sisters because I would be and I have seen some Black women that I am so impressed with.
You mess around and get that, who's the dudes that's on the plane, the air marshals?
Yeah.
Beating got tased up in there. We had no idea what was going on up in there. Voices was raised, you know, screaming and hollering going on.
Didn't know whether we laughing or crying. And hollering up in the cockpit, talking smack, having a good time. As sisters do when we get tickled and funny. We're not little quiet women.
Yeah, I mean,
won't be quiet.
And so I want to shift our focus to the NFL, National Football League. And one of the head coaches, Brian Flores, he was formerly with the Miami Dolphins, was terminated. And so he sued the NFL for racial discrimination. And I'll read this little write-up real quick. It says, former Miami Dolphins coach Brian Flores sues the NFL, alleges racism and hiring practices. In a lengthy lawsuit, Brian Flores has filed a class action lawsuit against the NFL and 3 teams, the Dolphins, the Broncos, and the Giants, alleging they engaged in racist and discriminatory practices against Black coaches. Allegations in the suit include Dolphins owner Stephen Ross, offering to pay Flores an extra $100,000 per loss during the 2019 season, and Ross trying to get him to recruit a prominent quarterback who was under contract to another team, violating tampering rules. The lawsuit also says that the Giants scheduled a fake interview with Flores last week to comply with the Rooney Rule, and that Flores learned that his interview was fake because his former boss, Patriot coach Bill Belichick, mistakenly texted him a congratulatory message thinking that the Giants were going to hire him. New York instead ended up hiring Brian DeBoer. Flores also said the Broncos put him through a similar interview 3 years ago with no intentions of considering him for the job. Now, Doc, are you familiar with the Brian Flores situation? So
No,
it was
actually, before I came on here, I saw that he had filed a lawsuit and that there were several people who were involved in it.
and so he was, from what I'm understanding, he was a pretty decent head coach for Miami. Do you? I think I kind of find it weird. Why would the owner offer him $100,000 extra per loss? Have you heard anything like that before?
No, no, not per loss. No, no, not at all.
It's the thought is, well, why would he want you to lose games and go pay you extra money to lose games? Is he trying for you to set yourself up for failure or something?
I think that there are only two explanations. One is that if he loses enough games, it will be easy to jettison his black self up out of there. That's one thing. But also, NFL teams are famous for tanking, losing games on purpose, and they will they lose these games and they get a high draft pick, and that's what it is. But in that world, in that sports world, if you do not produce, you're going to get fired. And let's be very, very clear on this, that the margin of error is razor thin for black coaches. And one of the reasons why that is, and let's just conversations like this, I just like to be honest about it. These white men have not even dealt with common white people. They're more comfortable, and I mean owners. They're more comfortable with their own people, meaning white people of a certain class, and that's never going to change. That's never going to go anywhere. Okay, they do not want to hire, not only, and we talk about the NFL, but they don't want to hire black folk to be the head of Fortune 500 companies. It's just that sports are always in the news, but by and large, these people pay a premium to be in a gated community to keep certain people out. Okay, and when they run their business, they're going to do the exact same thing. They don't want, by and large, they don't want black folk in their circle. Many of them have never really had black folk in their circle. And so good luck with that. You've tried the Rooney Rule is not going to work. Okay, because these people ultimately want to hire who they want to hire. And it has nothing in that world, as in every other occupation and profession, it has nothing to do with who's the best qualified. Because you can really get anybody to go out and do the job. That's why coaches are recycled.
Do you think that because we're not the only sport that I really watch is football. And then for me, it's only the teams that I like. And when I first heard about this Rooney Rule, to me, it sounds stupid in the beginning. I mean, why would you even think that that's going to work? I mean, who came up with that foolishness? You know, I guess Art Rooney, since it's the Rooney Rule, but, you know, but now for him, you know, he was hiring black people.
Yeah, but
Al Davis was hiring black people.
Yeah, but I think that you're looking at the Rooney Rule wrong. One of the, as I said earlier, that they recycle coaches, and we know that. You know, somebody gets fired here, they get hired immediately somewhere else. Black coaches were not, black assistant coaches, offensive and defensive coordinators were not even getting interviews. Okay, so they weren't going through the interview process. They're thinking with the Rooney Rule that if we force you to at least interview them, it will get them in the mode and in the process and get them experience of the interview. And after maybe 4 or 5 of these interviews, you could win 1 or 2 of the interviews because you've now polished your stuff. You're not nervous when you go in there, X, Y, and Z. It was solely to get them to get trial interviews. And that's how you hear Flores talking about this bogus fake interview, because you got to bring somebody in to satisfy the Rooney Rule. That'll be another offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator that can say, well, I interviewed for the Eagles job 2 years ago, you know, boom, 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 boom. And maybe the feedback he gets on why he didn't get that job, he can do a better job. And that's the Rooney Rule, but it didn't work. So now what they're doing is they're actually assigning extra draft picks if you hire a black person. Yeah, you can get an extra, there's a bonus. Yeah, it's like between the 2nd and the 3rd round, you get an extra pick at the end of that round if you hire a black head coach or offensive or defensive coordinator. Yeah, they're trying to induce these wealthy white men into doing these things. But when you have a situation where they ain't, and let's be honest about this. How many of these wealthy white men who own these sports franchises, for how many of them is that the primary source of their money? Or is this quite simply a kind of a toy that they tinker with on the weekend? Yeah, we're gonna go see my team play. And they're not really all that connected or worried. If you have that type of situation, they're not even around the team. Mm-hmm. Okay, it's rare to have because if I were to challenge you right now and to ask you to name me NFL owners, who can you name? Jerry Jones with the Cowboys, because he always involved.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
who else?
Jerry Jones, Redskins, Daniel Snyder.
Okay, because he's been a lightning rod, and you up in that region.
Yeah, then you got, of course, Pittsburgh with the Rooney family.
Same thing.
Mm-hmm. Then you have
who owns the Chargers?
I don't know.
You get what I'm saying? Maybe
exactly.
I don't even know if the DeBartolos still own the 49ers. You know,
I think he sold it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
See, the thing is that these are men. This is a toy for them, a hobby for them. They're not, gonna be really involved in this. And then you have to ask yourself about the general managers that are being consulted. It's a rough road to hoe for these people. Eric Bieniemy hasn't gotten a job yet, I don't believe.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not going to work. You cannot, unless you're the U.S. president and you're appointing a Supreme Court justice, you cannot force people into picking who you want. You can't. And that's what the NFL is finding.
Is the NFL too big to fail?
In what regard?
Well, because I'm thinking, since the NFL is like, what, 90% black, the players, If all the players stood together and said we ain't gonna play no more. We'll sit our ass at home until y'all get this stuff right.
Why would
then to get more black coaches to make the playing field even.
Man, they ain't doing that. There is no scenario that I can think of, honestly, where some of the least educated brothers who make the most amount of money, and therefore they blow through that money, would take a stand on anything substantial, especially dealing with race. I don't see it. I think that when you have a Malcolm Jenkins and those type of cats, yeah, they would. Those brothers that were kneeling throughout the entire season, but the average brother, no. Because I mean, you have to think about it this way. And having a bunch of former NFL players as students at Ohio State, most people don't realize that they get game checks. Okay, you got 17 games, you get 17 checks. Think about that. For 4.5 months, you get your money. So you got 7.5 months. If you didn't manage that money correctly, oh, you got 7.5 months where you struggling. And that money gets real funny around month 6. And y'all talking about striking? So a black coach could get, man, please. Man, I need my money. And then the fact that their career is so short. This is you're talking about really 2 to 3 years for the average player. Are you willing to sit out one of those years?
Mm.
And you making 500,000?
Mm. But they are unionized, right? The union don't take care of them. Because I thought if you go on a strike, then the union is supposed to, pay your bills and all that. The union gives you money.
The union may give you a stipend, but I mean, really, really justify if you make $5 million and you broke, who's gonna feel bad for you? That's why they had a seminar. It's telling you need a financial planner. You need to be able to do this and do that. No, the union's not gonna just kick you no whole bunch of money, especially to keep a extravagant lifestyle going. And then the union is not talking about black coaches. They're not players, and you can sit there and you can be angry about, well, we need more black. I think that's the outside world looking at it. I don't think that really becomes a big issue for players who are grinding out every day, trying to preserve their job. Would you, if you were a marginal player, would you rock the boat? Because there's a certain, I think it might be like 2 years or 2.5 years before you're able to get that pension for the rest of your life. We had a player at Ohio State who was all of one quarter, one game away from getting his lifetime retirement check, and couldn't find a team that would put him in there for 1 quarter for him to be able to get it.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I mean, look at the recent, look at the recent spate of players who got in trouble for lying about medical injuries, trying to pocket that money.
Yeah, Clinton Portis, one of them.
Yeah, Clinton, and that's Clinton Portis. That's number 26. That's Clinton Portis. We know his number. That wasn't no marginal player. So is he that hard up for that money?
I was shocked. Yeah.
That money goes away now.
Sister Gwen, you got something you want to add? I don't know if you're a football fan or not, but
I'm not a football fan. That's why I'm listening to it, but I'm listening to it from a different angle. I'm wondering things like, if he's married, is he married to a black woman? I'm wondering things like all these football players, there's nothing about that except that they're in a trap to make them spend that money to support that lifestyle, that to spend up to that paycheck. Because they don't have to buy a $2 million house. They can buy a 40,000 or a 250,000 house, but they're not going to do that. They're going to try to live that lavish lifestyle when they know that that's going to be a temporary thing, but they're going to still try to keep up because it's a trap. And that's what I would want them to do, is to try to take stuff that'll keep them out of the trap. Black history and Black support of the Black community, but instead they are most likely living in support of the white community and white supremacy, and got little dingbats loose on them, and they set the succubi on them, and that they are living that lifestyle and away from us and entertaining people and supporting the white supremacy until they're used up. And that's going to be the pattern. And that's what I'm looking at. About this strike, I get it. If they were united, they might be able to do something, but I don't even want them to be playing with that whole NFL anyway. I would much rather them be playing in the Black leagues, so to speak, and have their own autonomy. It'll be a much better game, I think. So that's all I got. I'm not a fan, and unfortunately don't have no clue about none of it.
Sister Gwen opened up an opening for me. Today, once again, is Jackie Robinson's birthday. Okay. I don't like Jackie Robinson. Okay. Personally, I'm with Brother Malcolm as always. Okay. And what Malcolm said about Jackie Robinson is spot on. Okay. But one of the reasons why I don't like, why Jackie is such a lightning rod for criticism from me, is quite simply what you saw with the quote unquote integration of Major League Baseball was the hostile takeover of the Negro Leagues.
Yes.
It wasn't like when we had the NBA and the ABA and they merged together, and NBA teams, owners kept their team, they ownership, and the ABA kept their ownership. There was nothing, no reason, no unwritten rule that every Negro League team and owner had to be put out of business in time. Why weren't they welcomed into as owners into Major League Baseball? Hell, they had all the talent. But what you saw there was a hostile takeover. And I yield. That's my annual Jackie Robinson rant.
Do y'all think that there will be any meaningful changes in the NFL practicing of hiring Black coaches? Because they got the little things on their helmet, Black Lives Matter and end racism and equality for all that shit on their stuff. Do you think that they would, get this thing right?
When Black people have enough clout to demand things, like the Japanese when they got those reparations. Remember when the Japanese got the reparations? America was going through an economic downturn, and they was trying to get Japanese factories to build in America. Remember that all of the Nissan and Toyota factories were only in Japan. America wanted to get Japanese manufacturing over here. That means that the Japanese had clout, and that's why they paid them. Black people won't get anything out of America until we got clout and a reason for them to take that step. And if they do take that step in anything now and we don't have clout, that means they're going to get something more out of it than we are. And I would run from that deal, whatever they put down. Okay.
And that ain't never gonna happen.
You wouldn't say that.
What kind of clout you gonna need to get these wealthy white men to behave differently? You would have to have Congress step in and take over their teams and put a special advisor in there. It's never gonna happen. There's no way of having that type of leverage You could say, well, let's not attend games. Well, hell, black folk ain't going to the games anyway. They can't afford to go no more. Okay, they lucky if they got their cable bill still on so they can see the game. And then you have situations where if you're talking about the players boycotting for the sake of some racial stuff, nah, their white handlers ain't gonna let them have that. They'll show these Negroes a video and they'll think that if they sat out, then the Ku Klux Klan be winning. They're not all that sophisticated and savvy when you talk about the history of race relations. They're just not. And the majority of them, let's be clear, are not nationalistic. They're not. From the moment that they arrived on that PWI campus, they've had white handlers. And let's be honest, when they were in high school, more than likely, they had some white handlers around them. And when they send them to those NFL meetings where they're going to learn about the league and what have you, one of the central messages is don't cause problems, because causing problems will cost you endorsement dollars. Remember the Michael Jordan quote when they asked him why he didn't come out and say anything politically? And Jordan said, Republicans buy shoes too. Now later he said he was joking, but Mike knew what he was saying. Mike knew.
Wow. Okay, well, let's go ahead and shift a little bit and get into this Whoopi Goldberg situation. And here we have another case of these fake Jews getting upset and exerting power. And you have another black person now apologizing and being so sorry for speaking what I deem to be truth. She was on her program and she basically said it wasn't racism that Hitler went and killed the Jews. That was two white groups. It was man's inhumanity to man. It had nothing to do with race. Nothing to do with race. And a few of the women on the program tried to give her a little pushback, but she stood firm and said, no, it didn't have nothing to do with race. These are two white groups. Nothing about race in this. This is man's inhumanity to man. Well, she didn't even get off the stage before they came out to condemn her and call her anti-Semitic, tell her that she needs to take the name Goldberg off her name. She ain't no Jew. She ain't one of them. She can't speak. And of course, Whoopi come out and do the tap dance, and I apologize, I didn't mean no harm, Yeah, I should have said that it was race as well.
I wouldn't have apologized. I think that was a bad move on her part. She should have said, I saw it this way, and that's the way I see it. And my name is Goldberg, as much as your name is Goldberg, whatever it is. And I still think what I think. That's what she should have said. And just took the backlash. Because now the backlash can double down, and they just proved that they were right, and they could snowball her. She was trying to, first off, I believe that the word fake Jews is accurate, because they are the least Semitic of all the people of the world. If you pull up a world map, please pull up a world map and we'll talk. Well, somebody pull up a world map. Okay, we all can picture the world, right? Mm-hmm. We can picture it. Now, you know where the Middle East is, and you know where the Semitic regions are, right? Mm-hmm. You can picture them, over there. Now, Persia, Arabia, Turkey, and all of that. Those are the Middle East, the regions where the Semitic people are. In North Africa and off to the west of that. In north, a little bit north and to the east of North Africa. Those people that are Hebrews or Jewish at the time migrated to North Europe. And then their names stopped being the Middle Eastern type names and became Germanic names. They intermixed with the Germans. They and adopted their names. And now the modern Jewish person is associated with that one particular group. But really, the Jewish people started off Semitic, but these people are the least Semitic of all the Middle Eastern groups and the least Semitic of all the people who call themselves Jews because they're mixed with German. They're 9/10 German now, just like their name says. All of the Katz and Goldbergs and Epsteins and Epsteins, all of those are Germanic names. They are indistinguishable from the Germans up there. None of those look Middle Eastern. They no longer cover their hair. They don't wear the flowing robes. The Middle Eastern type people do. That's why it was so amusing for them to call that Muslim female congressman anti-Semitic when she was more Semitic than they are. She was more semi-black. That's what all Semitic means, a semi person, half black. Okay, that's all it means. Half black does not equal 90% white. Okay, so they're no longer as Semitic as original Semites. But Jew, and that's what's crazy about the name and the race of Jew or Judaism is that a black person can be Jewish as well as anybody who adopts that religious belief. And that's why Ruby Goldberg says she's Jewish, and she's just as Jewish as anybody else. Both of them are, Ruby Goldberg is 99% Black, African. And just like the people who are associated with the Anti-Defamation League, white Jewish, they're just as white. And they are white. They're 99.9% white, just like Whoopi Goldberg is 99.9% Black. None of those, neither group is a Semite. They are a Semite in name only. And that's the fallacy there. That's why I accept the term fake, because they are, I say that they're fake Semites. Not, and I look at it and say that people are speaking anti-Jewish rhetoric. I would support the Anti-Defamation League if they told it as speaking anti-Jewish rhetoric rather than anti-Semitic rhetoric, because it's not accurate when you're talking about the modern day Jewish that came from the North European branch, because they're no longer Semites. They are 99% mites, white, not semi, they're no longer half. So I look at it as anti-Jewish rhetoric. Then I can talk about, then you can discuss it with me. But anti-Semitic is not accurate for me. So it don't work for me. They're not, I don't buy anti-Semitic. And about race, I think she's trying to distinguish between, and she's right, she's actually right, because Black and white are race. Okay. Jewish has never been a race. Semite is a distinction, just a group. But Semite is also Muslim. The Muslim branch is Semites too, as well as the Hebrews and all those other subgroups of clans that was in that region. And that's all they were, is clans that became nations. And
let me ask you this real quick. Now you said you would agree and say that it's anti-Jewish.
yes.
So you think that, what things do you think is anti-Jewish?
When somebody says something negative about a Jewish person as an individual or a religion, then okay, I can buy the word anti-Jewish. Most times when they're saying that you're being anti-Semitic, they're actually being anti-Jewish, because
Okay,
the
so
Jewish that's all they're doing, is just being anti-Jewish, and I buy that. I'm not saying don't be anti-Jewish if you want to be, just any more than I would say don't be anti-Christian, anti-Muslim, anti-anything else. People talk about different religions and negative and positive things all the time. I don't think the Jewish people should have any special protections or targets. I think.
Do you think Martin Luther King was anti-Jewish? Since when? Do you think Martin Luther King was anti-Jewish?
If he says something negative about Jewish people, then yeah, but that's okay. Jewish people are often, by definition, could be anti-Christian. That's okay. That's part of free speech.
But why does it have to be painted anti-Jewish if it's the truth?
Truth is truth either way. And if the truth is negative and you don't like it, then it could be anti.
But if it's the truth, they don't care whether you like it or not. That's your problem. This is what you've done. So it shouldn't be anti-Jewish because I don't tell the truth of what I know you done. That don't make me anti. That makes me strong enough to tell the truth. And you don't like the truth. So now you're going to try to say I'm anti-Jewish or anti-Semitic because you don't want to hear the truth.
Maybe we're looking at the definitions differently. Okay, now if I were to say Catholic people were a bunch of murderers, am I being anti-Catholic or anti-Christian?
I guess you would have to say which ones
Pope Borgia, who supported and got behind them slaughtering Africans.
No, I think that would be truthful.
Okay, so that's all that is. Then you calling it truth and I'm calling it anti. Okay, then your definition is accurate. I'm calling it anti, even if it's the truth. Whatever they say, if it's something negative, I'm saying that it's anti because it's not positive for them. That's all. But even if it was true, and you're saying truth is truth, and you calling it the truth and saying it's the truth.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Because they use that as a weapon so that you don't tell the truth. That's why they say it. You anti-Semite. You know, boom, boom, boom. You anti-Semitic. So you won't even say the truth because you don't want to get hit with that bat. And the bat has to be broken because you are telling the truth. They trying to cover up their thievery. That's what they trying to
cover
do.
Up more than that.
You know, so I don't give them no cover. I don't give them no cover. They are what they are. They crooks, robbers, and murderers.
And
I mean,
whatever it is,
when I learned that they helped Hitler, that these motherfuckers actually helped Hitler.
Yeah.
What the fuck can they say? I mean, really, what can they say about anybody? And look, as much as they say somebody is anti-Jewish or anti-Semitic, they ain't called out their own who work with Hitler to put them in ovens. They ain't open their mouth about them. They ain't say nothing about them. Now, Doc, I ain't been there. They thing, but you've been there. In they museums, did they say that them Jews has helped put other Jews in the ovens to make them soap? Did they that?
They actually do talk about that there were some Jews who were accessories to the Jewish Holocaust, but they discuss it from the standpoint of it being a survival strategy for them, that they try to make themselves of some use by removing bodies, by burying bodies, and oftentimes by even reporting on the hiding locations of other Jews. Anne Frank has been one of the questions that people have always had. And 60 Minutes just did a expose on this probably about 3 weeks ago, where they figured out who it was that turned Anne Frank's family in, and it was a fellow Jew who had done it. And Anne Frank's father, they went through his paperwork, and he had received official notification of the identity of the person, but he never revealed it because he said he didn't want the brand of being a Jew to be damaged by the actions of this one Jew.
And what I found is even the Rothschilds, they gave money to Hitler. They helped finance Hitler. They helped finance him. Now, come on. We want to talk about anti-Jewish, anti-Semitic, label them bastards with it. Because they did more harm than anybody else. They just as corrupt.
We're an easy target for them. And so that's how Whoopi Goldberg got up there. I wouldn't have apologized. I wouldn't have backed out.
Me either. I wouldn't apologize either. I told them go to hell. I said what I said, and I ain't gonna change it. Period, point blank. You know, and it's like every time we turn around, these bastards always getting in our business anyway. You can't say this, you can't say this, you can't say this. This is America. I can say what the hell I want to say. I mean, good Lord.
And heaven knows they feel like they have a right to discuss us.
Yeah. Motherfucker said, the Jews say was debating this black guy, this rabbi, and he say, well, y'all don't deserve reparations. Like, well, why we don't? Because what y'all was done, they even compare what we went through in slavery to the Holocaust and say that the Holocaust is worse than what we've been through.
I say that all
And I
the
don't
time.
see that. I don't see that. You still know who you are. You still know your where you come from. You still have your culture. You know all of that. You ain't been done. We were done. But yet they want to make it as if what their thing was the worst thing in human history. It really wasn't. It really wasn't. But they want to wear this victim cloak and say, I'm protected because I got this cloak on because we went through genocide. You dumb bastard. We done been through many genocides right here in America. Many.
By the same hands.
Exactly. I don't owe these Jew bastards nothing but a goddamn ass whooping. Nothing but a damn ass whooping. They think that they can control any old damn thing and say any old damn thing, and they always fuck with us.
We're easy.
They always mess with us. Always. I mean, damn. Made Michael Jackson take his ass to the studio and redo the damn song. You can't put that out. Jew me, do me, sue me. You can't put that out. What the? Shit.
That he did.
That's too much power. That's too much, and it has to be broken. It has to be broken. It's just too much. Doc, what you got to say about this?
Well, first off, I never thought I'd hear you say a Michael Jackson lyric, which is hilarious in and of itself. Well, the thing is that, and I wrote a piece about this years back, talking about my time at the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum, but I still remember the title of it. It was something about don't hate, emulate. And I was talking about how we rant and rail against the Jews, when in actuality, I think the better play is for us to go ahead and emulate what it is that they do. That they have seized their own historical narrative, and they tell their story so beautifully that it is almost disarming when you really consider what it is that they say, how they say it, and what they do. It is one of their many sources of power that they have inundated, and in many ways created a situation. They're the perfect example of manufacturing consent. They take their children and they teach their children this story, this narrative. Now, it doesn't matter, and I won't argue as to if it's true or if it's untrue, but they teach this story so all of them know it, and it becomes their sole reality. The difference between our children and their children, and I truly believe that the children, babies and children, in the minds of the people are the most important resources that any people seeking liberation could ever have. Our children are ashamed of our Holocaust. And let's be clear that we're talking about an African Holocaust. There have been, as Sister Gwen put it, there have been so many Holocausts on the planet Earth that it's almost impossible to count them all. But our kids shy away from the idea of the American chattel slavery. They shy away from because in many ways, they take that on their back as if we did something wrong. And instead of propagating the idea that no, this is not our shame, this is their shame for what it is they did to us. Because we don't position ourselves like that, we don't have the benefit of taking the next step of saying, and you must pay reparations for us. The Jewish call for reparations is so strong and so significant that they got people who didn't have anything to do with it to pay reparations to them. I mean, think about it just from a logical standpoint. And once again, I was a fellow at the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum. So I've been there. I've been behind the scenes. I see how they develop their exhibits. I understand how they do what they do. But that Holocaust Memorial Museum is not in Germany. It's sitting in the nation's capital.
Mm-hmm.
And when you consider that Holocaust Memorial Museum made it structured and in existence for an event that began in the 1930s, 1940s, over before you hit midpoint of 1945. Okay. In the African American Museum, where our people initially got here under white control in Jamestown in 1619. I won't get into if we were here before Columbus, X, Y, and Z, but let's just start in 1619. And you just now, 400 years later, were able to get a museum in the nation's capital. They got theirs done within less than a century. It took you 4, and you had to beg and borrow. It got downright embarrassing. Black folk having to chip in. Damn near had a GoFundMe page, give a couple dollars to the museum and what have you. And the truth of the matter is that even that museum is not being used as a bully pulpit for Black folk. The United States Holocaust Memorial Museum is. And I challenge anyone to go up in there and not be emotionally moved by the time you leave. It is something. They got it covered. And we know how to do it, but we haven't exerted the will to be able to do it. Because look here, it's something. And I mean, look here, it will, as a historian, it moved me. And I was there, for quite a long, and every time I went through it, it moved me. I don't know if it's some gas that they piping in there to make you emotional or something like that, but it will move you. You get an actual passport when you go in there of a victim of the Jewish Holocaust. You get to read about them. You get to see, it's something. It is something.
You're a compassionate person. Of course you're going to be moved. I was moved too. Mm-hmm. And it's real. Because I live in DC, and that's where I went to. It's one of the places I went. And it's heavy. It's deep. It's hard. Mm-hmm. It's hard to go in there. It's hard to walk through it. It's terrible to see it. They got little films in there, and you got a little place to sit and watch something. It's been a long time since I went, but it was heavy, deep.
And you go over there to the African American Museum, you get to see Run DMC's Adidas.
Yeah, and you get better with you would be better going to the Art Museum of History, the History of Art Museum. That's where I went at, and that's what some of the most important information is. Mm-hmm. The art the art museums at the Smithsonian. Those are worth going into.
Yeah.
The Smithsonian's are worth going into. Yeah, and so one thing so about the Jewish people that the Black people that all of us need to learn from is how they have a united voice.
Mhm.
Those that are dissenters shut up, and they let the Anti-Defamation League speak for them, and they support them, and it's all the way through. They already got control of media and presentation of information. So if so they'll speak with a united voice on all levels. That is TV, radio, media, all forms of media, plus politics, plus news. And so they circulate what they want their narrative to be. And that's what, I mean, this is a group, and that's one of the things that's almost unique to white people is that they argue their reality, even though it might be untrue. They argue that. They will argue that the sky is red until people begin to think it's red.
Mhm.
And that's what's going on with almost anything that they're lying about. Because by the time they're through with it, it's going to be the truth as far as they are concerned. They will change definitions, change race. I've seen a white person change race in the middle of a conversation. Okay? They have changed politics. They would do anything it takes to make it be in a part of their advantage. If they feel left out of something positive, they certainly are the racial group that made that positive thing happen, whatever it is. If they feel like if everybody's doing something negative and feeling heavy and they feel left out, they're gonna change their race group to fit that. I've seen them do that. Okay, they change reality in a speech.
And
So
here you have Black folk who can't agree that we deserve reparations.
yes, and that's I ain't blaming them for that. That is not on them. That is on us.
That's on us. That's on us. We do not have a mechanism that allows us to emerge from it Black-minded.
Mhm.
We don't. And we go to them for our educational foundation for our children. And I did my usual Black Panther example with my students, and I started them off, and I told them, I said, listen, yes, you too. You've been in and no, I ain't been me. And so I lead them in a song. And I said, we're gonna sing 2 songs. And please participate. If you know the next line, say it. And the first line is Black is beautiful. And they talking about Black is bold, Black is proud, Black is, they just throwing stuff out there. They had no idea that the next line, Black is beautiful, free Huey. Set our warrior free, free Huey. Okay, they don't know that. But when I said Old MacDonald had a farm, all of them, E-I-E-I-O. Our kids are learning E-I-E-I-O like they one of the Saint Lunatics. Okay. Whereas other people, children, are learning something of significance about them. There's no getting around that. And the fact is that you have parents that went through that same educational system, and many of them are well-meaning. They love their children and what have you, but they have been inundated and they have been instructed to avoid people like us. They all with they come with all that Black shit now, and a Black man will do you in just like a white man. Yeah, you don't hear other people saying that.
And then you want to sue somebody and want all the Black people to help you, just like that coach. Because I have no doubt that he was raised just like you described. And now he's Black all of a sudden. And he's realized he's not a citizen of the world.
Mhm.
The thing is, each one of us listening here, right? We can all interact with white people fine and rise to the top. But we stopped and said, wait a minute, this isn't right. Let's see what we can do and think about and figure out to help everybody of our people. But we're not doing this for us because we know we can rise, but we also know that we'll get pulled out the car like anybody else because we still got this brown skin.
Have been pulled out.
Okay. And I'd like to think somebody would stop the police from passing me up, beating me all up,
Exactly.
So That's reality. And so if you can't deal with that reality, regardless of what you worship, and then something is the matter because we're never going to get ahead. And everything you just mentioned, Doc, is something that the parents should be doing after school, just like Japanese parents, just like Chinese parents, just like all the other people who are trying to get ahead and make their families and stuff work. They are teaching their children at home. And that's one of the things the Jewish people did. They got control of where their children got educated. And they saw to it that their children got the education they wanted them to have. And they wanted them to have education that would make them in leadership positions and whatever they're doing. Plus, they wanted them to know their history as they wanted it understood by their child. And that child walks around with that badge of that history everywhere they go. And they have backing of their political clout behind them and everything they want to do. So they run around with that big old baseball bat talking about anti-Semitic everywhere they go, and they make people shut up, and they control the media and make whatever it was go away, and they also publicly make you get beat down in front of everybody so that everybody else will know not to do it. That's what they're doing to Whoopi Goldberg right now. That's what they do to anybody else to say anything.
You know, the Sister Gwen, that was beautifully stated. I mean, the truth of the matter is that these kids, meaning non-Black kids, are able to make it to the collegiate level, devoid of rhythm, devoid of the ability to dance, whereas our kids can fucking boogie. They you know, look at here, we are the dancing people. But where does that get us? And that's really what a lot of the things that we're talking about, there are certainly institutionalized racism structures that are involved in this, but a lot of it is cultural. It costs you nothing to create a environment where your child is so focused upon learning that it's painful to them to not. You know, a lot of people say, when I tell them this story, that I had to have been the consummate nerd. If I had a bad week at school, meaning got in any kind of trouble or what have you, I'm a routine person and a pattern person. And I got that from my mother. You know, every Saturday we were getting up and we were going to the mall. I would get $5 and I'd be allowed to go to the arcade and play until that was worn out. Okay. And then on the way home, I got to go to the public library and return some books and check some books out. If I had a bad week, we would still go to the mall. I could still play the video games, but I couldn't go to the library. And I was toe up. And to show you the sadistic side of my mama, she would drive past the public library to emphasize, you ain't getting to go this week. I valued the idea of learning and reading and studying and just enjoying being at the library more than even the arcade. So if you want to punish me, because I wouldn't have minded if I didn't get to go to the arcade, as long as I got to go to them. And she knew it. And it's like, you have to in every way create a context for your child to be successful. And many of our people, like, I'm first generation college. Okay. So my mother, all she really knew was to take me to the library and let me go around there. She was a reader, but she didn't have a degree or no certificates or anything like that, and look for opportunities right now to mentor young kids, that's where the meetup thing came from. That, anybody that want to join, they want to build with us, let's build. And that's just what it comes down to. And that's cultural, because these other people are building every Saturday at their Saturday school.
I was a big fan of the library when I was young too. Oh man, I read every local library. I read out of them, read everything in there. And then I finally started going to the main library and would spend time, hours and stuff. And that's what I do. And when I would go home and when I got grown, I would go and visit my family, my cousins. A day out for us, that's a treat when we go out to the big bookstores like your big Borders bookstore, your big Barnes and Nobles
Oh, our
bookstore.
Borders. Wow.
We would have a ball in there. Me and these two teenage girls going all through the bookstore, looking for hours at books because we love it. But that's something that you incorporate in a child at an early age, where they get that love of reading. I mean, I've donated books to the library when I get up into the 200 or 300 of them, just sitting around. I donate them, and and it's fun. And you should see my little Kindle. I got a Kindle and a Nook, okay, and an Audible, because I love to read.
I need that book. I need a physical book, just in case I need to throw it at somebody. I need a book.
Now my history books are hard copies and soft copies, but my pleasure reading, my fun reading is is my ebooks. Matter of fact, I just downloaded the Little Red Book. I wanted to see what.
Lord.
Yeah, I wanted to see I wanted to see what was in there. I just downloaded about $5.
Okay. Keep on. Keep on. See your ass up there on Fox News. The face of why we shouldn't have a black woman on the U.S. And breaking news. We have had a red book downloaded. Thank God that we had this technology to trace. Her name is Sister Gwen B. And let us show you a few clips. Kill the demons. That's how it unravels. Okay. And as if that was not bad enough, you killed a nigga in you, and I'll kill the nigga in me. And you can clearly see this nigga here is a serial killer. They will have people from the NAACP, the National Urban League, Al Sharpton denounce all three of us. I'll be completely jobless. They'll be like, oh no. The company he keeps, he's got to be insane. Yeah.
See what it wrote.
Keep on. What was that they called? Hanoi Jane or whatever. They gonna be the nickname.
Yeah.
Sitting there out of curiosity. No, she's not downloading Harlequin romances. The Red Book. They'll show pictures of the Chinese Revolution. People get in their head, they brains. This is what they're trying to. First, they tried to bring Sharia law here. Now, under the guise of Gwen B and a new unnamed, yet to be named, Black female Supreme Court Justice, you see what they want to do.
I also have a copy of the Mueller report.
She's done research on how to get rid of Trump.
It didn't work.
The plot, they'd be then change that around, be like the plot is still ongoing.
Oh, okay.
It is a elongated plot. If we know anything, if a person would go and download a book that is over 70 years old, you know they're patient.
Yeah, I did. I wanted to see what the heck was all of it. What's it all about? What the world? I was thinking about getting Mein Kampf or whatever that is Hitler wrote, but I changed my mind.
My struggle.
Oh, that's what that is. Okay.
I should have.
I'm real educated, so I didn't do that.
I shudder to even say this. White folk, forgive me. If you read Mein Kampf, read his chapter on propaganda. Talks about, he
Oh,
tells you exactly how he did what he did.
Mm.
I was a child, once again, on first generation college. My parents didn't know how to guide me towards anything as far as advice. They just said work and study hard. So when I was in the ninth grade, I thought that the language of the future was not Spanish, but German.
uh-oh.
So I
Mm.
studied German for 4 years. And one of my junior year, my project was to read Mein Kampf, My Struggle, in German. And you read his chapter where he's dealing with propaganda. Um, and I always attack my students with this. Don't dare call Adolf Hitler crazy, because to call him crazy is to be dismissive and to therefore kind of take the position that there's nothing that you could learn from him or about him. That's the
Mhm.
wrong way to look at that rascal right there. He was logical, methodical, um,
Mm.
ruthless. You know, Mr. Farrakhan termed him, probably gave him the greatest characterization that I've ever heard. He called him wickedly great. And that's
Mhm.
truly who he was. He was wickedly great. But if you wanna have nightmares, read the Nazi doctors. Oh, you will not rest. You
That's
know,
Mm.
Mingala and Goebbels and all of
oh
them.
yeah, Mengele. Oh Lord, he
Mhm.
did stuff to people that I know he in hell.
Yeah, yeah,
There's
yeah.
no, if I made it to heaven and saw Mengele, I swear I was in hell, and I'd take off running.
And turn around and go back because I don't want to be nowhere he is.
Yeah,
Or his kin. I call them demon kin or demons.
yeah,
Destroy the demons or the demon kin.
yeah. I mean, you have to really think that their technology was so advanced, and this is when you notice it, that when the war ended, the battle between the U.S. and the USSR was for German engineers.
Yeah.
You know, and when you look at that BMW insignia, you know, most people don't pay attention to it, but it's actually a white propeller going around a blue sky. That's what it is. That was one of the conditions of the war ending, that they could no longer make airplane engines because they were too far superior than anybody else's.
There you go.
Wow.
Oh, they something. The German people something. I done been over there.
I've been to
Mm.
Scared.
German. I've been to Germany for summer. I think it was summer camp, about a month or something like that in the military.
I was gonna
And
say summer camp. What kind of summer camp was you in Germany?
well, because
Hey,
when you're in the Air Guard,
you getting ready to really give them the information. They're gonna be like, and you heard her say she
no,
spent
when you're in the
a
Air
full
Guard, you do
month
one
with the
month
Third
or
Reich.
2 weeks of summer camp. And
Okay.
that's what they call a summer camp where you go and stay on a base. And
Mhm.
we went to Germany that year and they were on the good side. They were doing their good stuff. They were on the campaign that appeared to be nice people. And they were very, very nice and sweet and generous and stuff. And that's when I know that they have a lockstep mind. Whatever, because there was no deviation. They were all on code. And so that's a very, very strange thing to see, was everybody being lockstep, almost automatons, being very nice, overly very sweet, everything generous and nice and
Mhm.
everything. And I said that can that switch can flip and it can be the other way around. That is very scary. So the nicer they were, the scarier they were to me, because I know that that switch flips and it would be consistently evil,
You know,
and they
to
will do it as thorough and as diligent as they were being nice.
mhm.
That's when you need to look at people. And Brother Muhammad, I gave you those titles of books. Did you look at them?
Which ones?
Hedda Gabler and Metamorphosis.
No, they still on my list.
Okay,
They still on my list. Hmm.
you
You know,
can.
you have to really, and this is one of the amazing things about the organization, political organization of Jews. You can't graduate from a German high school without touring one of the death camps.
Mm.
That's
Because
a
they own
pre-
message,
yeah.
consistent message.
Mhm.
Okay, We're not doing
Manufacturing
that.
consent. The manufacturing consent. That's what they do. You know,
Okay, and
where
by the time they through, everybody knows their story. They know their story.
Mhm.
So anything different is on us because we need, if we want to, we can do that. There's nothing about what they're doing that we couldn't have done ourselves or can do. Can't, we can do that
Mhm.
if we want to, if we're interested. That should be in church having a little presentation about Black history so
Mhm.
that it's elevated and understood and positive.
Well, you know that Black history thing that you're gonna get in the church. That's gonna be the teacher that's got them wooden placards. They're gonna ask her to take them off her wall and bring them up in there and tell them kids. Now this right here, this is to understand history. You got to remember Harriet Tubman freed us from the slaves, and then Martin Luther King kept us from riding on the back of the bus. And that is our version of our story.
And I would rather read about the guy with the open heart surgery, or the street light, or the ink pen, and all of that. All that other stuff that we did to contribute to this world.
My thing is that those little trivial facts, that's fine for our children. The adults need to be in another room filling out voter registration cards
You're
and,
right.
and receiving, the red book and things like that. That's gonna radicalize them and get their minds right.
Or at least filling out all the paperwork they have to fill out to get those IDs that they're claiming that everybody needs to have. There's nothing wrong with y'all going out there and get all them whatever the stupid IDs and records and things. I mean, why you ain't already done that? Why I gotta keep hearing about you talking about they trying to disenfranchise you because you won't go down there and get? I'm too much of a warrior to let you give me your challenge and let you get away with me not needing it. I would have already got my little junk faster than you would.
I had a very interesting conversation with a former student of mine who is working in politics now.
Mm-hmm.
And he made this comment. He's a Republican. And he said, "Doc, please," he said, "can you access public assistance without ID?" And I was like, "You know what? No, you can't." He said, "So what are we talking about then?" Okay, they got ID. He said the thing is the lack of organization to get them to the polls and the knowledge to know who to vote for, because they don't care to show up. And his perspective, because once again he's working for a U.S. senator. He said, "Now, what's the purpose of all of it?" And then he made this very interesting point. He said that I don't care what organization you're talking about, the NAACP, the National Urban League, SCLC. He said the most shocking and embarrassing thing of all of working up here in Capitol Hill is that them niggas can't get their paperwork in on time. He says so many bills could be passed, so many addendums could be added, and they can't make it to turn it in on time. And it's such a problem that when he finishes working for the senator, he said, "Man, I'm finna go get rich because I am going to create a organization, a nonprofit that just teaches them about professionalism in the political arena." He said, "Because they don't have it." He said, and it's shocking to see it up close, that these are grown people who are acting like teenagers, missing deadlines, completely scatterbrained and disorganized.
Mm.
And the thing is that there isn't anyone who has looked at Black leadership over the past 30, 40, 50 years who would for 1 second doubt that as being true.
That's true.
Yeah.
Because I totally believe you.
Yeah. I mean, come on. Y'all missing deadlines and y'all supposed to be the front line? Y'all supposed to be the leadership? There you go.
Okay.
It's pure craziness. All right, let's go ahead and move to our closing comments. Sister Gwen, we'll start with you.
Destroy the demons, power and blessings.
And get your red book.
and undermine demon kin and all of that. This was enjoyable and fun and silly, but we still on the same page, and that's good.
Definitely. Doc?
Love you all. Look forward to our Tuesday meeting. I really do. Love this group. And as always, anything I can ever do to help anybody, let me know.
Yes, sir.
But I don't want no red book. I'm not a comic. Okay. White man, I need for you to understand. That's not my thing. So when I might be able to be implicated on some other plots and plans, but that county plan, I ain't ordering Miles' book of personal sayings.
Most definitely, most definitely. Excellent time, excellent program. Love y'all too. As we always say, you kill the nigga in you, I'm gonna kill the nigga in me, and our God will reign supreme. We are Black First, today, tomorrow, and forever. Love you, family. Peace and blessings. Assalamu alaikum. Shalom.
Good night.
Good night.
Love y'all too.
All right, now, peace.